is the BK Lounge Podcast. Welcome to laughs, love, and crazy debates by your two favorite hosts, Burt and Kenny. Join us in talks about military life, relationships, golf life, and so much more. Your new favorite place to come hang out on Sundays. Introducing the BK Lounge Podcast, a Burt's Beat Studios production. And now your hosts, Burt and Kenny.
There we go. Now we're back.
Here we are. Are we on the same mic or a different mic?
I don't think yours is on.
What?
What is going on today?
I got just a blue light. You got a green light.
What is happening today? How about now?
Hello?
There we go.
How do you
Whoa.
know? How did you get that?
I held one of the other buttons.
Testing.
Wow.
It makes sense.
What a fitting title
It all makes sense.
for a fitting start to our podcast. Wow. Happy episode 17.
Is it 17?
17.
Happy 17.
Where do we start?
I don't know.
I can't even remember. First off,
I feel like a lot of the people already know that I've had
a rough go.
because I already am seeing some of the comments in our live chat about people being here for me, understanding what I've been going through. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love.
I don't remember what we talked about last episode.
Yeah.
It was right after you got back from Texas.
Yep.
It's been a minute. Again, apologies for missing an episode last week.
We're going to get into why, because usually it's just like, oh, we're emotional, we have stuff going on, our relationship, but no.
No.
Life has literally smacked me, us,
And us.
in the face.
Yep.
It was really a lot for me
Right.
while you were gone in
Correct.
Texas.
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
no, like we talked about it last episode that we were gonna record before you left. That didn't end up happening. We were gonna do it while you were in Texas, and then my world with you gone all fell apart.
Yep. Yeah, because I was in Texas visiting my best friend Jocelyn and her wife Kim. Great visit. Got to meet Renee finally, and had some good food. Hung out at some cool places. Got to see their new puppy. It was a good trip.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
And then I had left Wednesday. I got there Wednesday.
Yep. You got there Wednesday.
Was supposed to come home Sunday. Friday, Joss, Kim, Renee, and I all went to Texas Live for dinner.
Yep.
About, what'd you say, 7 o'clock? I got a text.
We had different time zones.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had, it was Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Friday rolls around, I work a long day.
Long week.
It was a long week. But yeah, Friday came around, went into work around like 10 o'clock, ended up leaving around 8, staying a little bit longer, was leaving with one of my coworkers, Connell, and get in my car, my brand new car, and the back window was absolutely smashed in.
Softball size hole in it.
Yeah. Not even 1,500 miles on my car.
Yeah. At work.
At work.
Long week. Friday.
Home alone.
Home alone. I get a screen or a text with 2 photos of it, and I was like, ain't no way. Immediately got up, went outside, called her, and I was like, what happened? And she's like, must have been a golf ball. Had to have been a golf ball. Was a golf ball. Can't find the golf ball.
Yeah. Couldn't find the golf ball, but literally had I don't know. And we just tinted it, so it was thicker and darker tint.
Yep.
But the glass was being held up by the tint, like the seal of the tint.
Right. I bet if it wasn't for that tint, it would have on your drive. It would have just collapsed right in. Absolutely.
So, I literally honked my horn. I don't think I've ever swore to a non-existing human as bad as I did.
To an unknown human.
As I did in the parking lot of my work. I get Connell out of his car. He was just like, I don't know how I couldn't leave it because it was going to start raining.
Right. It was literally supposed to rain that night.
It was supposed to rain that night. I couldn't leave it at work because then it's exposed. And we have some cameras, but it's just a liability. It was open.
And it's the heat of pollen falling crazy every day.
Yeah. So I have terrible allergies anyway. So it was just like a perfect storm. And then I'm mad, and I'm getting madder, and I'm getting madder. And then I called you, and you're like, what's happening? And I was like, let me just figure out what I'm going to do from here. And so kind of made a plan. I was going to drive home. At that point, I've accepted that it was probably going to cave in on me on my way home, because it wasn't even spider web to the point where it was like, oh, like your front windshield, you get hit with a rock on the highway and it goes from different directions.
And those don't cave in like that. They're different glass for sure.
Right. But it's the back window. It was probably the impact mark was probably, I would say, 6 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like it got hit by a baseball, not even a golf ball. And so I was like, it's going to cave in. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to go to Lowe's. I'm going to get a tarp.
Yeah, I was on the phone, like, we were trying to figure out, like, the best way to cover it, keep it, like, especially out of the rain, like, because we don't have a garage where we're at right now.
So, and then
I'm trying to call Safelite outside of Texas Live,
yep.
Get a hold of someone, start giving them all of the information, and they're like, okay, well, it's the week, it's a Friday night, we won't be able to get a hold of a shop, we'll submit the paperwork to get it started, and I'm like, okay, all right. I've always had good luck with Safelite, especially, like, so when I was full-time...
So, honestly, it goes back to, like, the days of FedEx during Christmas season. When I felt that hatred towards FedEx, I now have that towards Safelite. Yeah. Like, literally, if anybody works for Safelite, and, like, it's the number one used...
Yeah, top of the top.
Glass replacement in America.
Yeah.
And they were terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Because I always used them in the government, because I had a fleet of 30 vehicles. We'd get a chip, we'd call Safelite, had our little credit card, they took care of it, like lickety-split. It was that's why I was like, oh, Safelite, it'll be easy.
Yeah.
Called them the next day, gave them the VIN number that you had gotten me. Yep, we'll get this to a shop, and they might have to order it. We're not really sure yet. It's such a new car. And that was that. And then Sunday morning...
Yep.
I get a FaceTime call from Kenny. Me, Joss, and Kim are kind of hanging out. We're about to go to Dutch Bros for a little morning beverage.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, Kenny's calling. FaceTime pops up. She was chatting, and she's like, look at this.
Yeah. Straight out of a horror movie. I had Sunday off. And at that point, I've worked about 10 days straight.
Yeah.
About 10 days straight, long days.
2 days prior, golf ball through the back windshield.
2 days prior, I have a tarp on my brand new vehicle, my 2025 brand new car.
Yep.
In our driveway, pollen all over it. It's yellow now. It literally looks trashy. We look like a junkyard.
It literally looks like what you'd see at something at a junkyard.
And I'm sitting on the couch, just fed the dogs, let them out, came back in. It was probably 85 degrees out.
Yeah, it was warm that day.
It was very warm. I have two ladies knocking on the door, giving me a church flyer saying that, come and celebrate Jesus and all of that stuff. And I was like, thanks. I literally was in my undies and an oversized tee, had my glasses on, messy bun. I literally looked scary to them. And they were like, God bless. And I was like, oh, God bless.
I need it.
Yeah. And so I take their pamphlet, tell them have a good day, get the dogs, go to throw it down on the counter. And we have this, greenhouse window. And
it kind of sits out from the house.
Yeah. And I hear something. I can hear movement. And I just pick my head up after throwing it down. And there is probably
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands.
Close to thousands of winged termites.
Yep. Swarming, flying termites.
Yep. And I'm like, this is not real.
And she pans the camera over to me, and they're stacked on top of each other, all in this greenhouse window, inches tall in the corner. And I'm like, oh my God, what the heck is that? At first I was like, oh, maybe she left the back door open and there's a bunch of bugs got in. And I'm like, my first thought definitely wasn't freaking termites.
No.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy.
And I FaceTimed him because I was like, look at what's going on here.
And she was like, and I wasn't too concerned about it because you were giggling about it.
I was like, what is happening? I was like, this is not real life at this point.
Yeah.
I've already had a hell of a week, and I'm like, this is weird to me. And so we FaceTime. I pan it around. You're like, oh my God. And so I take a step back, and as I take a step back, they start to spread. They are spreading in our house.
Oh my God.
They're falling off the window. They're on the counter. They're on the coffee pot. They're falling on the floor. They're spreading on the walls. And I'm like, this is my nightmare fuel. And he's like, let me figure out what it is. I was like, let me call the management company to our house because we rent. And I was like, as they started to spread and they were going everywhere, I had the dogs all over me. I yelled at the dogs. They needed to get in their bed. I was like, what am I going to do? And then I started to panic.
Yeah.
It was a full-blown panic, yelling, cussing, freaking out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what they were.
Right.
And
yeah.
I didn't know where they came from because the night before I made dinner, I actually cleaned the kitchen. They came out of nowhere. It was absolutely came out of nowhere. It was the most insane thing I have ever seen. And so before I call the management company, he's looking him up. He's trying to figure stuff out with my windshield. It was
trying to call Safe Light, get that figured out. Then this pops off. Again, she's kind of giddy laughing at what the heck's going on. And I'm like, oh, can't be anything serious.
Yeah.
And then it just went through the roof.
Yeah.
Through the roof. You're they're spreading, they're on the couch, they're on the walls, they're on the floor.
I was melancholy, and then I was
God.
Full blown meltdown.
I was like,
and I was I don't think you understand. I am freaking out.
Yeah, it quickly took a turn from how she was on FaceTime to text just minutes later when it truly sank in of what was happening and they were spreading. And so how did we even come to the... Well,
Joss was like, those are termites.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Joss was like, I'm pretty sure those are termites. And I'm like, ain't no way. Ain't no way those are termites. Please, God, no.
And so I was like, okay, now I'm freaking out. I call my friend Britt, and I was like, you need to come get my dogs. And mind you, Britt has a newborn baby.
And two large dogs.
And she has her own shit going on.
Yep.
And there's very few, I go up there, I help her, I bring her dinner, there's very little that I would, disrupt her life because it's already chaotic. And I was like, I need you to come and get my dogs right now. And she was like, what's going on? I go, there are bugs in my house. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, Britt,
just get here.
Get in the car, get here, there's bugs. I call him, I'm yelling at you, and I'm like, you need to call Britt. You need to tell her that she needs to get here.
Yeah.
She needs to get a shot vac.
Because we were trying to figure out, like, what do we do? And I was like, I don't know, vacuum them up. And she was like, in our vacuum? I was like, no, we should probably get a shop vac. And that's when you're like, well, Britt's coming to get the dogs. And I was like, okay. I called Britt, and I was like, hey, can you stop at the Lowe's by our house, get a shop vac? We're going to try to suck them up. And
so she gets here. I already have the dogs on a leash. I'm still wearing the same outfit from when the ladies from church knocked on my door. And she's like, I was like, take the dogs, give me the vacuum, and pray to God I don't burn this house down. And she was like, do you need anything? I was like, no. I need you to go home. I need you to go be with your child. Put my dogs in your backyard and leave them be.
yeah.
Just leave them. They're fine. Here's some food just in case if I'm not up there by the time that they eat tonight.
Right. And this is all on Sunday, and I'm coming home on Sunday, but not until 7 p.m. And I'm like, it's a helpless feeling. Like, I didn't necessarily feel helpless about the windshield other than, like, helping you cover it and, like, deal with that. But then the bugs, and I'm like, I'm just in Texas, like, waiting for my flight to get home to be there, whether it help with the dogs, vacuum up the bugs, try to call other people while she's calling other people. I'm calling people from Texas in North Carolina about extermination. I'm like Googling what they look like, what are they attracted to, what do they do, what their habits are. And then there was like this glimmer of hope. It's like, oh, these could be winged ants. They're not going to do any damage. They're just winged ants.
And I was like, no, you're a moron.
Yeah. She's like, nope. And I was like, I don't know. And winged ants and flying termites look very, very similar.
Yes.
But their wings are a little bit different, and their like antennas are different. Obviously, I can't tell via a picture. I'm just trying to gather as much info as I can to hopefully know what the hell we're dealing with. And all of the termite specialists that I called were either closed, or the one that I did get through was like, nah, you rent. We're not talking to you. You need to have the property manager call. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. All right. Okay.
And so, like, in the meantime, the dogs got picked up. I talked to Britt. I pulled every ounce of our furniture to the middle of the living room because they started spreading, not just in our kitchen and through our dining room, but then, like, we have an open floor plan.
Right, especially from the kitchen to the living room.
Like, everything's wide open. So they started spreading all the way around and started going into the living room. As soon as they passed the sliding glass door to go into the living room, I said, this is where I might lose it. And so I'm on the phone, and nobody in Charlotte, North Carolina works on Sundays. So...
And it's like a...
Like, I get it. I don't.
Right.
But at the same time...
Like, property management should be 24 hours a day.
Correct. This is your home. Like, you own this house.
Right.
So, I call their national line, which is their national maintenance line, where some poor girl...
Who's just answering calls.
Just answering calls.
Writing down messages.
Yeah. So, I talked to her. And as you can imagine, at that point... I don't even think pissed is the right word. I was irate. I was so mad. And I was mad, I was frustrated, I was disappointed. I don't think that I have ever spoken to a human being the way I did to that girl that answered the phone. She was like, yep, you're going to just have to wait until tomorrow. And I'm like, the hell I am. I was like, I said, there's a company that can be here today. They just need your approval. And she was like, sorry, can't. And I'm like, this girl.
Right.
I will find you wherever you are in this country, and I will hurt you because there are thousands of bugs in my home. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Take a deep breath, Jensen. Just just breathe for a half a second. I asked her, and I was like, can you imagine you have everybody that works for your company that has today off, and you are the sorry person that is managing all these phone calls from whoever's calling on a Sunday from all over the country, and you end your day and you go home and your house is full of termites. And I asked her, I said, you call your landlord and they're like, hey, I got the day off, you gotta wait till tomorrow. I said, how would you feel?
Yeah.
And she was like, I'd be pretty upset. And I was like, yeah. I was like, so that's where I'm at. And I was like, and I'm not trying to take this out on you, but I need answers, and I need them very, very quick.
Yeah, it's a terrible job to have.
Terrible.
Weekend person who answers and is the person that has to say, yeah, nobody can do anything.
Yep.
And I have no power because I'm just the person that answers the phone.
Correct.
Just to tell you there's nobody for me to call.
And I was like, I bet you, and I took it very far. And I was like, I bet you're in like middle of nowhere, Arkansas somewhere, and you're the one that has to deal with somebody that has termite issues on the first 85-degree day in Charlotte, North Carolina. And guess what? I'm the wrong person that has to have this happen to you and to me. And she was just like, no, like, I understand. I was like, no, you don't. I said, because at the end of the day, I was like, is there somebody that owns this house and you just manage it for them? And she was like, no, we own it. And I was like, okay, so you guys own it. All right. I have to have coverage based off of X, Y, and Z. I was like, you imagine if this house burns right down to the ground, then what? The manager would be like, oh, I'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. And again, we're frantic because we don't know anything about it. There's a bunch of bugs in our house. We don't know what kind of impact it has. Can we be living there? Should we be inside of it? How quick is an exterminator going to get there? What kind of treatments are they going to do? Like, what does this look like? Because when I think of bugs, I think of, like, ballooning the house and, like, soaking it or gassing it out. And I'm like, I don't know. Is that something that has to be done? We have no idea. We don't even know exactly what these are.
Yeah.
We think they're termites. She ended up finding some chewed wood around that window, and sure enough, that locked it in as termites. But it was just like, again, for me, the helplessness of being in Texas, being like, I'll be home soon. We ended up getting an Airbnb that night. Yep. Had to go pick up the dogs. Kenny got me from the airport. We got the dogs. Went to the Airbnb. Ordered dinner at like 10 o'clock at night. Went to bed.
I had a golf tournament the next morning.
That's right.
Yep. I had to play in a golf tournament the next day.
Because that girl told you that someone would reach out first thing Monday, and nobody did.
Yeah, so we're now in the situation where what we would like to say shit has hit the fan. It's not fixed. It's not gone. When I turned on the AC, I closed the windows. The dogs were gone. They all died. And with the shop vac, I was able to vacuum them, dump them out. Like, I did everything that I could, and they were gone. And so when he got here, he was like, everything looks great. And I'm like, yeah.
Because I was expecting to go, so I dropped her off at work that next morning, and then I went back to the house in hopes that someone was coming. And thankfully we got the notice that, hey, an exterminator is going to come and check it out. Mm-hmm. They're not going to treat anything, they're just going to check it out. And so I was worried that I was going to walk into the house and there just be like either a ton of new dead ones or like a new swarm or something. I had no idea what to expect. Mm-hmm. And I walked in and I was like, yeah, thankfully there's no new ones. Like, there's a couple of dead ones here and there. And I was like, thankfully, like, knock on wood, like, they didn't get to the other rooms. There wasn't another swarm. Thank God.
Yeah.
And the termite guy, or the bug specialist.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He comes out and he's like, oh yeah, it's swarming, flying termites. Their colony is somewhere near here. They got too big. They pushed them out. They try to find a place, and then they need to go back into the ground to live, but then they chew through wood, thinking your house is the ground, and then they die in your house. He's like, you can sleep here. They're not going to harm your dogs. It was probably a pain to pick up. Looked at the damage, looked at some spots inside the house, outside the house. I was asking questions of like any water leaks, any this, any that. Nope. Went around the outside, did some things. And he's like, yeah, it's, super, super, popular time for them to do that. If it goes untreated, you're probably not going to see any of them, maybe one or two pop up. You might get another swarm in the fall.
Well, like I was at this point, I was just like, I'm sitting in the middle of the furniture in the middle of the room. I've boxed them off. I vacuumed them. I swept them. They're starting to come out from where they were hiding, and I just kept like redoing the process. And at this point, like I don't want to like wipe a surface down in hopes that like, I don't know, the cleaning process was more difficult than what I anticipated, because you don't want to put any like scented anything.
Right, any chemicals near like where they chewed, because they might be like in the canal, and that might send them back down to then find a different spot to come up, the guy was saying.
Right. And so all you can do is really vacuum them and get them from wherever they die. So I'm sitting there, I'm reading like articles about them and like how to like manage them, and there's like the number one thing that it will bring is like mental distress. I'm like, I was like, this is awesome for me. This is so good for me. And at this point, he's like, I'm just trying to be supportive. Like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I really want you to do nothing, because if you were here, it wouldn't be any different than what it is right now. But it's just terrible because I'm home alone. I've had a hell of a week. The car is broken. I am starting to fall apart at the seams. And it makes you frustrated. And I'm like, I didn't care. I didn't care.
No, you made that very clear.
I didn't care that it was frustrating you.
Very clear.
Because at that point, I was already over the edge and I was falling apart. And it wasn't even a matter of you like trying to help me. It was like, you're coming home to hell as well. And I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because this is the situation that I'm dealing with right now. Is like, you're on vacation, you're doing all of this. It sucks because all you want to do is be here and support me. But at that time, I was like, no. No. It was bad. It was terrible. And it wouldn't have been any less terrible with you here. It didn't matter. It probably was better that you weren't, because I was mad. I was very, very mad. And I talked about it with my sister a little bit after the fact. And I was like, it's weird because you never leave your Jeep here.
No.
Never leave your Jeep here.
Yeah.
And I was like, so why now? I was like, everything seems to happen for a reason, right? And I was like, but how is it the only time that you left your Jeep at the house was the time that my car
got hit?
Right.
Yeah.
I've been parking in the same spot for 2.5 years.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I have a hole in my window. I've lived in the same house for 2.5 years, have had zero issues with bugs or anything like that, and all of a sudden, it's all now. And I was like, this is probably just the world kind of catching up to me for whatever reason and for whatever I did. And I sat in this house alone with the termites for a hot minute, collected myself, talked to Britt. She had the dogs, they were good. You got on the flight. I figured myself out for a minute so that I could pick you up, and
yeah,
went on with the week.
Yep. Termite guy came on Monday, asked him, like, hey, when you guys treat this, and of course he was like, oh, well, you guys can't approve it. It has to be the leasing company, has to approve us to do it and sign off on it. And he's like, there's a couple of different ways we can go about it. You guys can be here. Your pets can be around it. He's like, where they think they came in from was actually where the deck is. And he's like, we're most likely going to have the leasing company rip up half of the deck so we can treat there. And, like, to me, that sounds like a freaking nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't sound great. So I'm like, okay, great. He's got all the information. He took all a bunch of pictures, got a bunch of information. And he's like, I'm going to send this to the company, and hopefully they'll approve it here soon, and we can be out in no time.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't heard a thing.
We've heard zero.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
I've sent emails. I've called. So it's been fairly bad.
Yeah, and on top of that, starting at the beginning of the week, I'm calling Safelite every day, like, hey, update. And they're like, oh yeah, we're just waiting on the VIN. And I'm like, that's crazy. Here's the VIN again. Okay, we just put it back in, everything's good. Call up the next day. Oh yeah, we just need to verify your VIN. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, oh, can you give us the VIN? We want to make sure it's correct. VIN's correct. We'll send it over to a shop. Next day, call. Yep, yeah, we can't get a hold of the shop that is going to be responsible for it. I'll escalate it to the customer care team, and they'll reach out first thing tomorrow. Nobody reaches out. I call again. Oh, yeah, it says invalid VIN. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've called every single day and told you the VIN.
And at this point, it's Thursday.
Yeah,
Because
literally Thursday.
Thursday morning, I had off. And so we got up. I tried to connect with the exterminator, the management group, the lady that is in Charlotte that is dealing with this house. And at the end of the day, she had Sunday, she had Tuesday, and apparently she had Thursday off as well. And so I'm like, okay.
Right.
But at that point, like, I hadn't even heard from them. I sent them an email. I called her. I left a voicemail. And then I called the national, like, hotline with the poor girl from Sunday. And I'm like, hey.
Me again.
I was like, anybody want to reach out to me?
Give me an update. Like, what's the plan? Are you guys planning to approve it?
And they were like,
what are you doing for us?
On Thursday, they were like, oh, yeah, the exterminator will call you, schedule a time, and they'll come and do the preventative maintenance. And I was like, okay. And they were like, but they'll call you. Rest of the day goes on. I don't hear a freaking thing. Friday happens, don't hear a thing. I shoot them another email. I was like, what's the company? So I can give them a call because I haven't heard from them. They don't respond to me. The maintenance team does not respond to me. So Saturday rolls around. I get done. I'm in the middle of a work day. We have a tournament. And still nothing. So I shot them another email. But tomorrow they'll be open. And tomorrow they will for sure hear from me.
So again, Safelite, they're like, oh yeah, we'll send it over to a shop. Finally, it makes its way to a shop. A shop calls me Thursday and says, hey, yeah, we can't find this windshield anywhere, or this back windshield anywhere. It's such a new car. We don't have them in stock.
They said,
oh,
the front windshield.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we can come out to you tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm like, no way, really? He goes, yep, yeah, well, you'll actually have to come here because it's a front windshield. We got to recalibrate everything. I was like, no, it's a rear windshield. And he's like, oh, yeah, everything here says front. And I'm like, no, I've been telling them the entire time that it's the rear windshield. And then he goes into we don't have any in the States. We're going to have to order it from the manufacturer. I'm like, okay, what's that process look like?
In Germany?
Yeah, shipped over from Germany. And he's like, I've seen it as, quick as like 3 to 4 weeks, all the way up to like 5 to 6 months.
And
I'm like,
and he's on speakerphone.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like, this is no longer a funny story to me.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, yeah, order it, and let's hope it gets here soon. And Kenny was like, let's call the dealership. Maybe they can make it happen faster. I called the dealership, like, yeah, we use this other company, yada, yada, yada. Let me see if we, VW, have any in stock. And she's like, oh, yeah, there's one in our Arizona warehouse, and it can be here tomorrow. We can get you in Tuesday morning, or, yeah, Monday morning. And I'm like, really? Back windshield? And she's like, yep.
And she answered the phone. She was like, your guys' new car, because it's the dealership from where we bought it. And she was like, oh my God, you guys just got that car, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, and she's like, but we'll get it in, we'll get it fixed. She told us the cost and all of that. And she was like, this is just like a nightmare. Like, what else do you guys need? And I'm like, to never deal with Safelite ever again. I'll pay triple the amount to get any sort of glass repaired before I use Safelite.
Yeah. So
ever.
And we were kind of worried of driving the car more because it was just a matter of time before that whole back window caved in and glass was everywhere. So we were like, okay, how do we get the car there? Are we going to have to tow it? Okay, we have no idea how much towing is going to cost. I was thinking upwards of like $500. Thankfully, it was $150. So a tow truck came, picked it up this morning, dropped it off at VW. because we just didn't want to be in the car, and the entire drive is on the interstate. And if we're going 75 miles an hour and the back windshield goes, there's going to be glass everywhere. So had a tow truck come pick it up today, brought it to VW. They're going to take care of it first thing tomorrow morning. So thankfully that'll be knocked out. And on top of it, kind of rewind, I'm trying to leave Texas, and I check in. I'm flying Southwest out of Love. I put my bag up there to get, checked in, and the lady behind the counter goes, we can't use this. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, this bag, you can't use the bag. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, there's a tear. And there was a tear where the zipper was, and she like pokes her finger in there, and she's like, see, I'm touching your stuff. This can't fly. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm at the airport. She's like, you'll have to get another bag. And I'm like, ma'am, my girlfriend's windshield is shattered at home, trying to get that replaced. And I literally looked at her, I was like, and our house has bugs. I need to get home. And the craziest part was every single one of these baggage claim or baggage drop-off spots had their Venmo and a tip jar. And I'm like, this is weird. Let me try something. I put a $5 bill in there, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Prints it, snaps it on there, throws it on there, and she's like, best of luck to you.
Slut for a $5 bill, you know what I'm saying?
And I'm like, I told Jensen, she's like, you told the lady we had bugs? And I was like, yeah, I did.
He's like, my girlfriend's dealing with termites back home, and I need to get home right now.
Yeah.
You can keep my bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, you said that to her? And he was like, yeah. And then I gave her a $5 bill, and I was like,
Yeah, it was.
cheap.
I've never seen that at a baggage spot, and it was outdoors, right outside of Love, Southwest, and there were 3 people, and each of them had a different style tip jar and their little Venmo thing. And I was like, this is the strangest thing. Like, I can't imagine going inside of an airport, checking in, and tipping. It's not like she's throwing it on her back and walking it to the plane, like, in front of me. Like, it was so strange. She just threw it on the conveyor right behind her, and I'm like, that's crazy to me. Okay, neat. Thank you. And I'd never flown Southwest, and I didn't know Southwest had this, like, crazy, like, loading, unloading, seating, no seating chart thing. Because when I first was leaving out of Charlotte, I was like, oh, hey, I don't have a seat assignment. And the lady laughed at me. And she's like, baby, you don't get a seat assignment. And I'm like, what? And she goes, you just sit wherever you want. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, you can upgrade for $65. And I'm like, oh, does that get me in, like, business or first? And she laughed at me again. And she's like, we don't have business or first. You just get on the plane sooner to pick your seat. And I'm like, for $65, I get to get on earlier? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm okay, thank you. I ended up just boarding with military. Both times sat in an exit row. I was like, this is strange, but okay, thank you. And they don't have the little dolly that they go down the aisle. They come down with the trays with drinks. Do your thing, Southwest. I know you're getting rid of your free bags. When they get rid of their free bags and start charging people for bags, they are now then coming out with a first class. They're updating their planes, getting new planes, the lady said. I said, neat.
New planes.
New planes, new baggage fees, new first class.
Yeah. So, it's been a week.
Yep.
It's been a little over a week, but it's been a long one.
Last night, we're out with the dogs, walking the dogs. We're trying to, like, just randomly came up of, like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Do we stay in the house? Do we find a new rental through this company? Do we find a new rental altogether? Because we were originally going to buy this year, then decided to keep saving, buy next year. And we're just like, what do we do? Again, the thought of moving, say, in June to then possibly move again in March, April, May, June of next year is terrible. Like, nobody likes to move. Like, the thought of having a new house, new place is exciting. But if we move to then move again next year, we're like, as soon as we get to this new house, we're going to want to buy stuff for that house, make it, homey, comfortable for that layout, that style of house. And then 8 months to a year later, move to a new, different sized house that furniture might not really fit in. So we're like, do we really want to do that? And so we just kind of started looking last night at, rentals and, what was available in the area. And we went to VW this morning.
We actually had my car towed. We had it towed. We followed it there. We went to the dealership and we covered it again. We're supposed to get
It's probably raining tonight right now.
We're supposed to get like 3 inches of rain through the night and through tomorrow. So, very, very blessed that they're going to be able to fix it.
Yep.
But then when we did that, we left and we're like, why don't we just go look at some of these places for rent? Just
because Kenny, when she moved down here, she was obviously looking at rentals and told me about these rental companies that you can sign up on their app or their website and, submit all your information.
You do like a screening.
You do a screening. You have to pay, $5-10 or whatever it is. And you can go view these rentals that are vacant without anybody. It generates a code for that lock for one-time use, and you can just walk into these empty rentals. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was freaking, honestly, the coolest thing ever. It's easy. You're not on a schedule. You don't have to talk to somebody about like, oh yeah, this is what we do like, this is what we don't like, or oh, this is an issue, or just someone there watching us look. Like, it was just so easy. We probably went to what, like you said, 15 houses today?
Yeah. From
like 11 or 10 to 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
We went all over. We saw some very cool houses, some nice houses that, could work.
There's some freaky deaky
and some wild, freaky, scary houses. Like, some of the neighborhoods looked like they were out of, like, The Walking Dead. Some of the houses looked like they were from, like, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed with Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
We went into one. It was like, how do you describe it? The raised ranch, right?
Oh.
It was similar to a raised ranch. It was all brick. It looked like it was 3 stories because it was on a hillside on the back of the house. And we're like, oh, okay, this is a good-sized house, like top of our rent budget, like higher than our top of our rent budget. And we're like, well, we can look for free, like we can go in, whatever, let's go check it out. And as soon as you walk in, you had the 2 stairs, right? Half stair down, half stair up.
Yep.
Half stair up went to like an open living room. Kitchen was nice, kind of weird, big.
Yeah, there was a huge like
breakfast bar.
Yeah, big breakfast bar, but it went into this room that was an overhang of like this ledge that went into the backyard. Which
was truly like 3 stories up, especially with how low the backyard was.
Yeah, I bet you it was probably like 50 feet in the air.
Yeah, it was very tall.
It was super tall.
With like a huge like square staircase all the way down.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking about our 2 crazy dogs. I'm like, we open up this door, they're just going to tumble down these stairs.
Yeah, they would die, for sure.
We checked it out. It was all right. We're, exploring. And so there's one living room upstairs and like a bonus living room with like wood paneling and like a brick fireplace with like these 2 doors. And we open up the 2 doors and there's another hallway. I go to the right where there's rooms.
No, you're getting the 2 houses confused.
Am I?
That was the old lady house. There was 2. So the one that we're talking about right now, we go downstairs and we take a hard right.
Yeah.
Which was like another room. It was like an office space, like a living room, and then it went to the back porch. And the first place that we went for all of them was to the back porch of everywhere, just to see like
how the yard was
for the dogs. Because if it didn't suit us having 2 dogs, then we were leaving.
Because especially if it wasn't fenced in, like where we're at right now isn't fenced in, and we have some temporary fencing up, which is okay because our lawn is fairly flat.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these had like really big embankments, and I'm like, there's no way we're going to be able to set up temporary fence that's going to stay up.
And so he's in the other room, and he's looking out the sliding glass door, and I take a look to the left, which was down the hall, which was probably another...
It was a long hallway.
It was probably like another 600 square feet.
Yeah. It was huge.
It was huge. It was like it was the rest of the house.
Yeah.
We were just on this small corner.
Yeah.
And the other side, I was like, oh my God. And he was like, what? I go, oh my God, we have to go. And I was like, and you're going first. And he was like, let's look.
The door was like halfway open.
It was halfway open.
And it was all unfinished.
It was all undone. It was like down to the studs.
Yeah, studs. Like
all wood. It literally looked like a garage inside of the house.
Right, and like the guts of the house.
It was literally the guts of the house.
And it was creepy, it was dark, it was dirty.
And there was junk in there. There was like somebody's
like,
stuff.
Yeah.
And so he turns on his flashlight on his phone and he's like, let's just peep in there. And I'm like standing behind him and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, what? And he was like, it's a full tanning bed.
There was just a tanning bed.
It was a full size like industrial lay down,
all white, had like the pull down that was down.
And I was like, let's go. We gotta go. This place gotta go.
It was so strange. There was like building materials, there was a treadmill and like a bike, and it wasn't like, again, it was not a livable or like space you could set up and be like, oh yeah, we can have an extra bonus room. It was destroyed in there.
It was terrifying.
And I'm like, how would we, like, if, let's say, everything else of the house was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that door always locked and whoever actually owns this house, like, keeps that stuff? Or is this from whoever rented it and they haven't cleaned it all out yet? Like, it was so strange.
It looked like the basement of Home Alone.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
But more junk and dirtier.
But it wasn't a basement.
Right.
But no, it was actually terrifying. But the other one that you're talking about was like this old lady house. And it was actually super cute from the outside.
Yep.
Had a fenced-in backyard. This one was all brick. The other one was all brick as well.
Got it. Looked at so many of them.
But we walked up the stairs and we went inside. Like, oh, this is cute. And there was it was a massive kitchen. But I told them before we went in there, because I have all of the listings. And I was like, I don't like the kitchen. And that's probably the only thing I won't like. And so we walked in and like it had like your grandmother's house smell.
Yeah.
Like it's like that older lady.
Like,
and I was like,
wood paneling smell.
Yeah. And it was just like, okay, whatever. And so we go in, there's like seashells. It's like old cabinetry.
Like where the cabinets cross over.
Yeah.
And they're like, because the hinges are all jacked up on it, so you close it and they're like off kilter, like one's on top of the other, and you open it and the other one shuts. Like.
And it was a massive island, and so we go up. It was also another like 3-level type of deal. But this one wasn't like Ray's Ranch. Like you walk in and you're in the main living space. Right. But there's like just like a small. It was like almost like an in-law suite.
Yeah. Pretty
much, like, because it had an exterior entrance.
Yeah, it had 2 of them. No, I'm getting them all confused.
No, that one had 2
too.
The laundry room and then the hallway.
End of the hallway, right?
And so there was like a cool little room, because all of them were like, okay, where are you gonna stream? Like, kind of just like imagining our life in whatever house. And we go in the room and there's like a laundry room, and we're like, where do these doors go?
And when I say the doors were, there was a wall in between them, obviously, but they were no more than 8 feet apart.
They're probably the same distance from you to
wall between Kenny and I, one exterior door there, one exterior door there. Mm-hmm. So strange.
And so I was like, well, this is kind of strange, but the floors were uneven. And so whenever you open the door, it would stop.
It would drag on the floor, and you could see marks on the floor.
And I was like, this is just not right.
And it's tough with rentals, because kind of what is there is what you get. You can't really go in and be like, oh, well, I want $5,000 off because we have to do carpets.
Yeah.
Like, if the carpets suck, there's probably a good chance that you're going to get crappy carpets.
Yeah. But no, we got to see some different areas that we've been interested in, which was good, because we're like, so we saw about 15. We went a little bit farther south than what we initially wanted.
Yep.
And from there, we saw a couple houses that we liked. We saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, which was kind of creepy.
Another strange one. It was like bright yellow. The house itself looked like something like you had said before we even showed up was Little House on the Prairie.
Like cute little, like, it was like this cute
An
little...
old southern home, as you described it.
Yes, it was a very southern home. Like, it was a cute little, like, yellow house. And there was, like, a detached yellow garage, and then there was two
additional sheds.
And one of them was like a she shed, which I was like, ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
But like kind of creepy at the same time.
Very creepy.
So we like walked in, and I think it was because it was like handicap accessible house initially.
Yeah,
and I think that's why
right.
There's different doors.
Yeah.
But there was probably
4 to 5.
About 5 exterior doors.
2 on like a little mini porch, 1 next to the sliding door, then the sliding door, then the front door. Mm-hmm. And then again on the side there was like a workshop, a normal small tiny shed, and then another like somewhat finished shed. And everything was bright yellow. It looked like a little like village.
Yeah. But it was very...
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be a no from me.
Yeah.
Absolutely a no.
But it started freaking him out, and I was like, I actually like low-key kind of like this little like weird spot, but there was no master. It was all of the rooms were the same. They were all the same size.
Yep.
It was
two bathroom.
2 bathroom.
Full bathroom downstairs, full bathroom upstairs. None of the bedrooms had attached bathrooms.
And so I got in the car, I was like, this makes our termite house, like all of these houses make our termite house look so much better and more appealing. And I was like, how is this the situation that we're in?
Because again, with renting, you get what you get, and we would go to some of these, and the exterior is absolutely beautiful. It's in like a nice neighborhood, and you walk in, and everything is old. The carpets have like humps in them. The door frames are missing. Like there's chew marks on the doors from like dogs. The kitchen cabinets are like that very, very light pine, and they're super old. All the appliances are like that cheap white, like the cheapest you could possibly buy from like Best Buy. And it's just like, or you go in some that didn't look really great on the outside, and the neighborhood wasn't that awesome, and everything's up to date and like beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, why can't we find
both?
Why can't we find both? And again, it's tough with renting because people are going to pay it. People are going to move in there.
And so I was like, and based off of what our ideas are, is like, stay within the realm of what we are at now, continue to save money so that we can eventually buy the house that we want. And so we already know what kind of house we're looking for, period.
Yeah.
We know what we want. We know what we're looking for, especially for this next phase of our life. It's like, have something for when we are ready to start our family and all of that, and then potentially get to grow into a bigger house and grow our family and do all of that. But so we have the stepping stones, but we know what our end goal is. And we don't technically know where, because like I still have opportunity down the road in my career to grow, and I don't know what that means. That means I could move, like we could
town over?
Yeah,
or
the other side of North Carolina.
Right.
Like there's really like no set in stone. So we have like a realm of like price range, all of that, what we need. He works from home. So we have our checkbox. And
with the tough part of being like, okay, if we move now to then move again, yes, we want something nice, but we also don't want to spend through the nose just for a year in hopes that we continue to save to then buy another house. But then do we get in something that maybe we don't love for a year just to get out? Like you said, like how do we get in this situation?
Right. And it was the second to last house. And it was a small fenced-in yard. We liked it. It had the whole upstairs was its own bonus room.
Just a massive, massive bonus room with a full bathroom, walk-in closet.
Closed door,
had a little landing on top of the stairs. Then you went to the closed door. There was a little out bump, and then a huge room with a bathroom and walk-in closet.
So there was 2 masters that were massive.
Yeah.
And then 2 fairly good size bedrooms as well. So
Yeah.
it was technically, it was a 4-bed, 2.5 bath.
Yeah.
And so, actually, no, it was a 3-bath because that,
Oh, yeah.
both masters and then
Yep.
the main hallway bath. And we're like, we like this, but the kitchen was, it was terrible.
Super mismatched. Like, I think the stove,
And the laundry room was in the kitchen.
the laundry room was in the kitchen, which was very strange. Like, you had to go into the kitchen to get to it. The stove and the dishwasher were white. The microwave was all black, and then the refrigerator was silver. And that drove me up a wall. The cabinets were old. The countertops were like the laminate, like where you could like, I remember my parents' house growing up where you could like, the edge, you could like peel it off kind of thing. It was like that. But everything else we liked. The backyard was nice, had a nice, did it have a porch? Yeah, a screened-in porch. There was a pond in the back. It was fenced in, good yard, decent size garage. And we liked it, but it was like, damn, that kitchen. And I want to have a nice kitchen.
It was expensive.
It was above what we wanted to spend on rent.
And so, and I was like, and if this is just temporary, because I was like, I don't love it.
Right.
But like.
Could we make do with it? Absolutely.
And so.
But if, like you said, if we're going to spend that money, I want it to be something that checks all the boxes.
Correct. And that's what, and, you know, that's kind of like where we were like kind of going back and forth on what we needed to like communicate and like meet in the middle on is it's not even just about leaving, it's about like what we're spending our money and our time and investing in. And so we were done. We're tired. We're hungry. Very hungry. And so I was like,
because you had exhausted that one website, the Rentsy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that, because we, like I said, we went 15 different places, and every single time she had something queued up, and I was excited, and I was like, "What else?" And she's like, "I think that's pretty much it."
Yeah. And so I was like, let me pull up Zillow just to like see if there's anything that like on our way home that we drive by. And so there's this one house, and it's from our house to work, and it's literally smack dab in the middle. And every time we pass it, I'm like, that is my dream house.
Absolutely beautiful. I don't even know like what color you'd call that brick.
It's like, it's literally like, it's like, the color stone.
Right. Yep. That's
like
a good,
when you get like pants and it's the color stone. That's the color of the house, and it has black decals. It has the full paved driveway.
Yeah, everything was black. It was beautiful. Beautiful house.
It's gorgeous. And that whole road, I'm like, I love this road.
Yeah.
Because everything's separate. It's
quiet.
It's not loud. It's pretty quiet. And everything's like gorgeous. Every time we drive that road, I'm always like, I love this road.
Great road.
I was like, if I'm gonna live in any part south of Charlotte, I'm gonna live on this road. And so I was like, there's a rental over there. And I was like, this is a big house. It's a big house.
And she's like, looks like a new build. And I'm like, really?
So I was like, it was built in
2021. I looked at,
yeah, 20. Right. It was built in 21. So it's only 4 years old.
And from the start, it sounds like it was a rental from Zillow.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's a brand new house. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, let's like drive by. And so we pull up to it. And at this point, I've already checked to see if we can get in tomorrow, because this is one where it was a different website. It's through their own rental program.
Yeah. And
as we're pulling up, and I had already submitted, they're like, if you're around, you can go in today. It has keyless entry. And I was like, oh my God. We pull up to it, and we literally were just like...
both of our like jaws dropped.
It's our dream house.
Literally dream house that we would want to buy.
And that's what we said. I was like, this is the house that we would buy.
And it's one street. We think that they're going to be building further down, but there's probably maybe like a dozen and a half houses. It's quiet. Lots are spread out. Houses sit back. Long cement driveway. absolutely beautiful, like a light yellow, would you say the house was?
No, it's white.
White house. Beautiful. Fenced in backyard, nice black professional metal fencing. All of the houses have them. They're all absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's about close to an acre.
Yeah, I'd say a little over probably an acre.
Yeah, probably like an acre and a quarter. But before we even go in, I was like, this is a lot. And I was like, and there was minimal pictures of the inside. So we get inside and we're just like,
Immediately, just absolutely blown away.
like, I was like, this is what our dream house is.
And I'm used to rentals back home in Vermont where you can't rent a house. And if you find a house to rent, it's an old rickety something in the middle of nowhere for like $4,000. And even around here, when we've been looking for rentals, you never see like new build rentals.
No.
So the new build like got us kind of interested, like, oh, we know it's not going to be falling apart, because we saw some houses that we liked, but we were worried like we saw seams or like water damage, and we're like, damn, like this could be great, but it looks like it's falling apart.
Right. And I was like, okay. So we like walk into the kitchen, and it was like, it was insane. And for everybody that's been listening, it's a whole open floor plan on the first floor, and I can get my couch.
Yes, Kenny can get her couch. Huge living room.
Huge living
massive
space.
kitchen with like an island, breakfast bar, more cabinet. We could probably put a cup in every cabinet, and we have a lot of cups.
Mm-hmm.
Walk-in pantry with just about 365-degree shelving.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think we could buy enough food to fill this. Like, how would we fill this?
Mm-hmm.
Kitchen was absolutely beautiful. Backyard, beautiful. Had a paved, patio, beautiful. Big garage, storage underneath the stairs. Huge laundry room.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little bathroom, half bath.
And then we go upstairs. It was crazy. So this is a 4-3. So it's a 4-bed, 3-bath. It is 2,600 square feet.
And one of the things that we were looking for down the road or at our next rental was to use one of the bedrooms for Kenny to have an office, because she usually is either in bed or on the couch working, and she's at the point in her career where an office would do her some good.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's always priority for, like, you to have, your own space for a studio and all of that, because this is your full-time job. And like, I'd work from home certain days, certain times.
Right.
So it's more or less of just like full circle and all of that. And so I don't even look at the master first. I went in down the hallway, went and looked at the spares, and I was like, these rooms are big. And I was looking at like what one would be best for like the studio and whatever. And then I walk into this like individual like room, and you were walking back down the hallway. I was like, it's an office. And it has a full built-in office.
Marble desk with drawers, power outlets, internet. And I don't know if you looked on Zillow on the floor plan of it, it's labeled as a walk-in closet.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, holy crap, it's got a beautiful kitchen, it's a beautiful house, has like literally a dedicated office, and then on top of that there's still 4 bedrooms. Master bedroom, huge, like.
And so I'm like, okay, so at this point I was like, I'm ready to see the master, because I was already overwhelmed. And I was like, this is insane. Like, this
Absolutely
is like
insane.
It's literally it's checking off all of the boxes of everything that we've ever wanted in a home for like our future.
Right.
For like what we would be looking for, what comes next year.
Right.
And so I'm like, this is insane. And so I walk into the master, I'm like,
well, because I'm like, you need to see this walk-in closet.
yeah.
Like, wait till you see this walk-in closet.
And for all of you that know us and know me, I think like, 65 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, 65 pairs of shoes, 165 hats.
Yeah. Got a lot of stuff going on. And then I was like, okay, so, and I'm already on his side of what our walk-in closet is now in our master bedroom. So I'm like looking around, I was like, this is insane. The bathroom and the closet was as big as what our master.
Yeah. You walk into the walk-in
is.
closet, there's like a middle wall, and then it splits off into like a U. There's a his and her side, matching storage, hangers, shelving, massive, beautiful. Yeah. Everything's looks brand new. 2 vanity, huge shower, huge tub. The master bedroom's, wide open, has like kind of like a lifted middle ceiling with a ceiling fan. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And then I start checking out the other bedrooms, and I'm like, this would be great for the studio. Like, it's above the garage, and it faces outward of the house. And then there's still 2 other bedrooms, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, it's massive.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other houses, we kind of like looked around. We're like, yeah, it's kind of nice. And on the houses we didn't like, we're like, oh, nope. Immediately turned around, locked it, left. Some of them we kind of putted around for a little bit. And this one we just kept walking around.
Yeah.
Kept walking around.
But, so, moral of the story is we are now going to rework our budget. And we are applying for this house tonight.
Because when we compared it to the larger houses that we looked at the higher price point, we were like, this is not worth it. And then we go see this damn near brand new house, bigger, nicer, up-to-date, quieter, nicer neighborhood. Literally everything we want and more for less than what these other houses were. Older, nastier, not fenced in, not updated, smaller, in a tight neighborhood, 45 minutes away from the boat. This gets her, what'd you say, 20 minutes from work?
Yeah, it's less than 20 minutes.
Less than 20 minutes to work, a half hour to the boat, great location, beautiful yard, everything's flat, fenced in. Like, when I say it was literally perfect, beautiful layout, absolutely everything we want and more. And again, we were like, well, shit, this is, like you said, this is what we would want to buy.
And I was like, we stood in the kitchen. I was like, if we sign a contract on this house, we're not moving next year or even the year after that.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
I said, this is a minimum 3-year home.
And something that would not have us being like, oh man, like, let's start looking for houses. Or like, let's start seeing what's out there. Or, oh shoot, our house is too small. We're ready to start a family. We need to get into something bigger. Or, oh, the year's up. Oh, I hate this place. Oh, it's too small. It's too old. I hate the kitchen. I hate this. I hate that. Like, I feel like truly we wouldn't want to move in 3 years.
Yeah. Maybe we would buy it from them.
Yeah, maybe. But, so yeah, we were reworking the budget before the pod. I feel like deja vu with the Jetta.
I know. And, like, it's so perfect. I don't want to get, like, too excited about it because we still have to apply. We still have to do all of that, but...
Yeah, tell them how long it was listed for before it got rented.
2 days. And it's been on there for 9.
2 days before it got rented. So that had me like, oh, God, competition. I don't like it.
Yeah. So I was like, so I emailed the lady that was going back and forth about from when I said that let's do a tour tomorrow and all of that. So we have been going back and forth about the application process. What does that look like? We kind of went over what they need from us and
the requirements, because some of the houses that we looked at was like, oh yeah, pet friendly, and we kind of got interested in it, and it's like only can have one dog.
And I was like, who are we sacrificing? Or we'll have to sacrifice both.
And then all of a sudden we're thinking, maybe we don't have dogs. That opens up some options.
I was like, yeah, dogs. I've never seen a dog in my life. Yeah. But
we meet all the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is like anything that would disqualify us from going through the application process. So,
But that's why we did the budget, just so that we know like our debt to income ratio.
yeah.
Which as of right now, we are well surpassed of what we need to be for the house. But another thing is we don't want to like become house poor just because we're renting either.
Right, because again, if we weren't, I think we're in a good financial position overall. Could it be better? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be different if, we knew that if we did this, there was zero chance of saving any money. Because then that would just deadlock us into it with no possibility of ever buying.
Yeah. So, really, big thing is that there's movement into hopefully a better light, and that everything has a silver lining, including my hell week.
Well, yeah. Exciting stuff. So hopefully stay tuned. We'll have hopefully some exciting information. And I have no idea of like what time or day it is. And we were talking about like, having some overlap. So we didn't have to like move everything out in one weekend, especially with her, work schedule and how busy the season is. Something like that is just not possible. And I'm like, oh yeah, like a little overlap would be good. Like maybe like middle of April. And she's like, yeah, this is available to move in tomorrow. And I'm like, because it was like for April 7th or something. I'm like, it's April. I had no idea.
Yeah, he was like, oh, April 7th, that will give us about a month and a half, 2 months. And I was like, it's April 6th in context. So I was like, yeah, no, it's available as of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, but that doesn't mean that we move in tomorrow.
No.
So, but like, because we still have to apply, just because it's available tomorrow, that doesn't mean that...
Hopefully they're not picking someone tomorrow and be like, here's your keys, give us your money.
No, and that's like part of what I was talking to them about earlier. As I was like, what's the process? And they were like, once you come to like a lease agreement and all of that, and we'll move from there. But I think that there's still a couple more steps before we get into it. And at that point... From everything else that we saw, we'll stay in the termite house if we can't get this house. If not, we will be moving into this next house.
Right. And there was also one house that looked new as well, that the lock wasn't working. So, that, again, that's something we could look at as well, because we unfortunately didn't get to see that. But that was a newer build with a beautiful fenced-in backyard. Tighter neighborhood, busier neighborhood, but still a beautiful house. But unfortunately, we couldn't get in there and take a look at it. But no, very exciting. The podcast was titled When It Rains, It Pours. It rained, it's poured, and hopefully the sun's coming out very soon.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, is no matter how hard it rains and how hard it pours, there will eventually be a sunny day.
It gets better. It always does. Every situation, whether it's your health, what you're going through, relationships, it'll rain, might even pour, might even thunder, might even lightning, but eventually the sun will come out.
Yep.
And it's tough to see it at times and think that way. I think we both are guilty of that at a lot of times.
My God, yeah, miserable. Called my sister like 3 times this week, and I was like, yeah, depression, bang. It's here. It's and my youngest nephew likes to say when something bothers him, but he doesn't want people to know it's bothering him, he will say, I really don't even care, to make himself feel better. And he's 3. But all week I kept saying, I was like, I really don't even care. I really don't even care. And I just kept going all week saying, I really don't even care. And so last night, which is a conversation that we've both been very like oil and vinegar on, is actually moving, because as some of you know, is the thought of moving gives me crippling anxiety. And we've talked about it before, but I kept saying, I really don't even care. So it got to the point where I was like, what if we did move? And that was our conversation on our walk last night. And
because again, even the thought of moving into this new place, I hate the thought of it.
Yeah.
But luckily, again, with me working from home, being able to, hell, we get it in 2 weeks. They say you can move in. All right, I'll go get a trailer, slowly start bringing stuff over. bring everything in from the shed, start piecemealing the studio together, maybe start ordering furniture for over there if we need it, start putting it together, and just having that overlap, which again, some people are like, you're paying 2 rents. I don't care. I will pay the 2 rents. I will have that convenience and not rushed of, hey, you have 1 weekend to get out of your house and into a new one. I don't like that, and I know that is absolutely terrifying and horrible for you, especially with work. And I have no problem boxing up stuff, moving it over there slowly. Again, I think that gives us like a good pace of like, okay, hey, yeah, we need a new bed frame for the spare bedroom. We need a new bed. Okay, that's something I can do. Be there for the delivery guys, put stuff together, move stuff over. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that takes a lot away from it, of the stress of, again, bag everything, we got to go. Mm-hmm. But again, who knows? We might come back next week and be like, yeah, nope, somebody else got it.
Yeah.
We don't know.
But we also have family, and our family's moving down, so nothing like the present.
Yep.
So
everybody's getting new stuff.
We have a lot to tackle ahead of us. Hopefully the car is done tomorrow. Hopefully we have some good news about potentially moving into a new home in the next day or so. Hopefully I don't have to burn this house down.
If we see one more bug, I swear to God.
Literally, it's so bad. I can't even be in the kitchen, and that's honestly my favorite place in this whole house, and I can't even stand in there without feeling the ick. But outside of that, we have good things that are coming. It is getting better. I really don't even care. But no, it's chaotic, and we have a lot going on, and I have a bunch of tournaments this month. My dad's coming down tomorrow through the week.
Yep.
Closing on their new house for him and my mom. My mom's going to Paris. The week after that, my sister and her family are here.
I leave for another week. Please, God, don't make it rain. Then I'm back for a little bit, and then my parents show up for a week so they can look for places.
Yep. And why I continue to say I really don't even care is because all of this movement gives me nothing but crippling anxiety. But
change is a terrible thing.
It's a terrible thing, especially for your girl. She doesn't handle it well, so.
But hey, thanks for joining us this weekend on the BK Lounge, episode 17. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Apple. Download, like, share, comment. We will be back next Sunday because we will be here. Maybe I've moved something. I don't know. Maybe we're sad. I don't know. But we will be here, and we appreciate you. We love you. And thanks for hanging out with us on this Sunday.
Nick will be streaming 4 times a day until further notice so that we can afford our new home.
That's what I'll do. I'll just live stream moving.
I don't think anybody wants to see that.
People used to watch me cook breakfast and make fun of how I made eggs. They'll watch me butcher, try to put an end table together or something.
Or breaking down your studio.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be a great video of breaking down and building a new one.
I think so.
I think that'd be cool. But we appreciate you. Any last words, Kenneth?
Love y'all. Bye.
Y'all be good.
This has been the BK Lounge Podcast with Burt and Kenny. We hope you enjoyed your time diving deep in on wild topics, listening to crazy stories, and hanging out with us. We'll see you next week live on Twitch. Be sure to check out our website for all our social links at www.thebkloungepod.com. Y'all be good now, and we'll see you next time.